Wesley Allen Dodd byl americký odsouzený sériový vrah a sexuální delikvent, který sexuálně napadl a zavraždil 3 mladé chlapce ve Vancouveru ve státě Washington. Později téhož roku byl zatčen po neúspěšném pokusu unést 6letého chlapce v kině. 2 bratry, 11. a 10letého Colea a Williama Neerovi, vylákal do odlehlé oblasti, kde je donutil svléknout se, přivázal je ke stromu a na obou prováděl sexuální akty. Když skončil, Dodd chlapce opakovaně bodl nožem a z místa činu utekl. Chlapci byli brzy objeveni v parku. Cole byl nalezen mrtvý na místě činu, zatímco William zemřel na cestě do nedaleké nemocnice. Poté Dodd založil sešit s novinovými výstřižky o vraždách. Dodd napsal podrobné zprávy o svých vraždách do deníku, který našla policie. Poté, co se přiznal k obvinění z vraždy, dostal trest smrti. Poté, co odmítl automatické odvolání, byl popraven oběšením, což bylo první legální oběšení ve Spojených státech od 60. let. Když se pokusil unést Jamese Kirka z toalety New Liberty Theatre, chlapec začal bojovat a plakal, když se Dodd pokoušel opustit divadlo přes halu a nesl chlapce v náručí. Zaměstnanci divadla začali mít podezření a následovali Dodda na ulici. Kvůli jejich pronásledování Dodd propustil Kirka, nasedl do auta a odjel. Přítel Kirkovy matky, William Ray Graves, přišel do vestibulu divadla a bylo mu řečeno, že chlapec byl málem unesen. Graves vyšel před divadlo směrem, kde byl Dodd naposledy viděn. Doddovo auto se porouchalo o kousek dál a on se pokoušel nastartovat motor. Aby nevzbudil Doddovo podezření a zdržel se, Graves předstíral, že je kolem jdoucí a nabídl mu pomoc. Poté praštil Dodda do hlavy a vrátil se s ním do divadla, kde zaměstnanci zavolali policii.
In the last 2 years that you've been in here, what is it? What should people know about you?
I don't know. I can't really say I really discovered much about myself. I think really the biggest thing is that everything could have been prevented. I've had so many contacts with police and confessed to so many crimes and never been charged or charges was dropped. I was never prosecuted for one reason or other. My first contact with police came when I was 15. On March 10th of 1977, I was arrested by the Richland Police Department here in Washington. I confessed to 6 or 7 different crimes. I couldn't remember for sure. So these 7 cases probably involved close to 20 kids. Idaho sentenced me to 10 years in prison, but the sentence was commuted to 1 year in the county jail, and I served only 4 months of that. So I did 4 months of a 10-year sentence. Everybody over there is pointing fingers at each other. The judge is saying, well, he made such a good impression. Seattle on June 13th, 1987, I tried to kidnap a boy. My intentions at that point were to kidnap him, to rape him, and to kill him so that he couldn't report me. This boy knew what to do. He knew something was wrong, he wouldn't go with me, and he made an excuse to leave the area, and he went home. He was able to identify me, and I was arrested that night. I was found guilty of attempted unlawful detainment. I had already been in jail. By the time I got to sentencing for that, I'd already been in jail for 118 days, which is beyond what they normally give for that kind of a crime. So I was released, and I just became completely obsessed with it. That's all I thought about 24 hours a day. I mean, I was dreaming about it at night, constantly all day at work. That's all I thought about, was killing kids.
Joel David Rifkin je americký sériový vrah, který byl odsouzen k víc jak 200 letům vězení za vraždy 9 žen, ačkoliv se předpokládá, že zabil až 17 lidí. Rifkin vyzvedl Tiffany Bresciani, prostitutku, která pracovala na Allen Street na Manhattanu. Bresciani byla se svým pasákem a přítelem, punkrockovým hudebníkem Davem Rubinsteinem. Bresciani řekla Rubinsteinovi, že se vrátí za 20 minut. Poté, co se Bresciani nevrátila, Rubinstein zavolal policii s popisem pick-upu Mazda z roku, který Rifkin řídil. Částečně v důsledku její smrti spáchal Dave Rubinstein o necelé 2 týdny později sebevraždu předávkováním. Ve 3:15 si strážníci hlídkující na Long Island's Southern State Parkway všimli pick-upu Mazda bez poznávací značky. Poté, co řidiči naznačili, aby zastavil, nezastavil a vedl policisty k 20-minutové honičce, která skončila poté, co ztratil kontrolu nad vozidlem a narazil do sloupu osvětlení. Řidič byl identifikován jako Joel David Rifkin a po prohledání vozidla našli strážníci tělo Tiffany Bresciani zabalené v plachtě. V roce 1994 byl shledán vinným z 9 vražd 2. stupně a odsouzen na 203 let až do životí.
When you looked in their faces, what did you see?
Deer trapped in headlight look, just that stare.
Did you like that look?
Not necessarily, because I would have looked more often.
How did you feel, when you were doing it?
I really didn't remember it since that time, or have any thoughts that I could recall of that time.
When do you think you actually consciously recognized that you enjoyed having these violent fantasies or thoughts? You described this gladiator scenario of girl fights girl to the death, is that right?
Yeah, it went to that point at times.
Or, am I mischaracterizing that? Or
No, there were times it went to death, there were times it went to submission.
Right. Did it involve sex?
No. As a teen, you know about sex, but it's like one of those, yeah, it exists, but what is it? So it's hard to plug that in.
You remember your first woman you were ever with?
Yeah.
You do? What do you remember about that?
They're not shy about their occupation in the city.
Right.
It's right up front. She approached me. You looking for a date? Yeah, kind of. What's the deal? And she says, well, she named the prices. That was it. Just a lot less tense, a lot less lonely.
Less tense and lonely. What about control? What about controlling the event?
No, they were more in control than I was. There was the same fantasies, sometimes expanded, and there was also the killing fantasy that would come in and out.
Okay, what is that fantasy?
There was strangulation fantasies, there was...
Okay, tell me about that. What is a strangulation fantasy?
Sort of like out of the movie Frenzy and things like that. How would one do that? What would that be like? And I'd run through scenarios and then dismiss it. I don't know. With strangulation, there seemed to be an intimacy to it. There's contact.
Yeah, of course there is. Do you recall feeling anything? Do you like the control? Did you like the power that you had over her?
Wasn't aware of it at the time.
Okay. Are you aware of it now?
I think of it because it's been mentioned. You're not the first one to mention it. There were things that made sense, there were things that didn't make sense.
I think she was just at a low point. You don't think she really wanted to die, do you?
I always put it that in terms of if she didn't, she would have fought more. No fighting at all, no wriggling at all, just do it.
No sex. She didn't want to do sex.
No. When she finally agreed, it was on very limited her terms type of thing.
And how'd that make you feel?
I went with it. Then she started crying and carrying on. I just came from rehab. I can't be doing this anymore. My life is crap. I wish I was dead. My boyfriend's gonna break up with me. I just grabbed her in from the front and strangled her. And the weird thing with her is she put on the least resistance of anybody.
Why do you think that is?
I think she was just at a very, very low point in her life. She was maybe suicidal in what she was saying. She just had it.
Why did you kill her?
She was probably out of frustration. I was hearing echoes of how my month and week had just gone, you know.
The fact that she said, I want to die, do you think she was just at a low point? You don't think she really wanted to die, do you?
If she didn't, she would have fought more. No fighting at all, no wriggling at all, just do it. It was bad about the attitude I got back from her.
Tommy Lynn Sells byl americký sériový vrah. Přestože byl odsouzen pouze za jednu vraždu, za kterou dostal trest smrti a nakonec byl popraven, úřady se domnívají, že spáchal celkem 22 vražd. Sells sám tvrdil, že zavraždil přes 70 lidí. Dne 31. prosince 1999 v Guajira Bay, západně od Del Rio, Texas, Sells sexuálně napadl, pobodal a zabil 13letou Kaylene Katy Harrisovou, než podřízl hrdlo 10leté Crystal Surles. Crystal přežila a dostala první pomoc od sousedů poté, co utíkala 1/4 míle do jejich domova s proříznutou průdušnicí. Sells byl zadržen poté, co byl identifikován podle náčrtu vyrobeného z popisu oběti. Sells byl umístěn v cele smrti v oddělení Alan B. Polunsky poblíž Livingstonu v Texasu. V roce 2004 se Sells přiznal, že se 13. října 1997 vloupal do cizího domu, vzal nůž z řeznického bloku v kuchyni a ubodal malého chlapce k smrti a rval se ženou Julie Harperovou. Tyto podrobnosti potvrdily výpověď Julie, která byla původně odsouzena za vraždu svého syna a poté v roce 2006 osvobozena. Dne 3. ledna 2014 stanovil soudce Del Rio Sellsovu popravu na 3. dubna 2014. Sellsův rozsudek smrti byl vykonán v texaské státní věznici v Huntsville. Na otázku, zda by chtěl učinit konečné prohlášení, Sells odpověděl ne. Když mu byla podána smrtelná dávka pentobarbitalu, několikrát se zhluboka nadechl, zavřel oči a začal chrápat. Za méně než minutu se přestal hýbat.
The first time I did a shot of dope, it was the best feeling I ever had in my life. And the first time I killed somebody, it was such a rush. And it was just like that shot of dope. Every time I did it, it was that rush again. And I started chasing that high.
How many people have you killed?
Lord, I don't know. I don't know.
10?
Yeah,
20?
probably.
30?
It's up there.
50?
But see, I'm not Billy the Kid making notches on my holster, so I know it's been a lot. I am hatred. When you look at me, you look at hate.
When I look at you, I look at hate?
When you look at me, you know what hate is. 'Cause I don't know what love is. Two words I don't like to use is love and sorry, because I'm about hate. I don't have no feelings no more, no emotion, no. I like to watch the eyes fade, the pupil fade.
What do you like about that?
It's just like setting their soul free.
What are you thinking and feeling when you kill someone?
It's just like that drug. I'm after that drug again. I don't have an on and off switch. I'm just after that drug. I'm after that feeling.
I wonder if you could just tell me what happened as you were killing her. Did she give birth to a baby?
You know, you're pushing your luck.
I'm sorry.
Let's not get into blood and guts, because that's what you're trying to get into.
You also killed children.
Some get killed, yes.
Now, why would that happen?
I didn't want them to live through the pain I lived through.
Do you remember the little girl who survived?
Yes. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her.
What did you do to her, sir?
Her neck was cut.
How did you do that?
With a knife.
Do you have anything to say to her, the little girl who survived?
I guess you'll relay this message too. What's your name?
Martin.
Martin?
Yes. Can I call you Tommy?
Oh, without a doubt. I don't think she really wants to hear what I got to say.
What if I called you something that you didn't like, and you'd think about killing me?
Well, if we was in a fight and, you know, get your head down in the concrete, then, you know, so be it, but...
What happens when my head goes down to the concrete?
Well, what do you think happens? It cracks like a coconut.
And then what happens?
You die.
Svou zločineckou dráhu nastoupil ve svých 15 letech, kdy zabil své prarodiče. Později v okolí Santa Cruz zavraždil 6 stopařek. V dubnu 1973 zavraždil svou matku a její přítelkyni a několik dní na to se sám přihlásil na policii. Edmund Kemper je známý svou působivou tělesnou výškou, hmotností 140 kg a inteligencí, která převyšuje hodnotu EQ 140. Tyto jeho vlastnosti dávaly obětem pouze malou šanci se mu ubránit. Na lov svých obětí vyrážel často po hádce se svou matkou a za své oběti si vybíral výhradně stopařky, které zavezl na odlehlé místo a zabil, udusil, uškrtil nebo zastřelil. Následně těla převezl do svého bytu, kde znásilňoval odřezané hlavy a těla a poté je pitval. Během vraždění se snažil být neustále krok před vyšetřovateli. Pravidelně navštěvoval bar The Jury Room, kde se seznámil s několika policisty, kteří na případu pracovali. Nikdo z jeho přátel nepojal žádné podezření a s Kemperem otevřeně probírali průběh vyšetřování. Během procesu použil Kemper na svou obhajobu svůj psychický stav, svou nepříčetnost. I přesto však byl v listopadu 1973 uznán vinným z 8násobné vraždy. Požadoval pro sebe trest smrti, byl však odsouzen k doživotnímu vězení bez možnosti prominutí trestu. Edmund Emil Kemper si odpykává svůj trest ve věznici California Medical Facility ve Vacaville v Kalifornii.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years.
Can you say how many people might be doing crimes like you were doing?
It would be a guess, but it's not. It's far more than 35. It isn't that impossible in this society. It happens.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up.
How many?
She didn't give up. I did. I came in out of the cold. And what I'm saying is there are some people who prefer it in the cold.
What did people say?
A nice guy.
You were able to appear like ordinary person, non-threatening to...
I lived as an ordinary person most of my life, even though I was living a parallel and increasingly sick life, other life. One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat. What in the hell am I doing telling you that? Am I a masochist? Am I looking to be tormented further? I'm trying to show you just how awful this got, how commanding these rages got. I was raging inside. There was just incredible energies, positive and negative, depending on a mood. That would trigger one or the other. And outside, I looked troubled at times. Other times I looked moody. Other times perfectly serene. Not very sane. But again, people weren't even aware of what was.
You were involved in the campus because your mother worked there?
Yes. I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work, college co-eds, women, and had had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. And I watched the alcohol increase. I watched her social life drop off. I watched her get bizarre. She had terrible pain from her life, earlier life, her upbringing, a failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such, into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening, but that is what happened. They represented not what my mother was, but what she liked, what she coveted, what was important to her, and I was destroying it.
Why did you actually kill the girls?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually. I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area, even if just sitting down and talking with a young lady. I need to be able to really communicate, and ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up. And I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. At first, there wasn't a gun. I'm driving along. We go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching, where I could act out, and I say, no, I can't. And then a gun is in the car, hidden. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides, this fantastic passion. It was overwhelming me. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process. So it finally came down to the thing of, do I dare bring this gun out? Already realizing if that gun comes out, something has to happen. It was going to happen. I didn't see it then, but it was going to happen. I was playing a dangerous game with a loaded gun that got us all.
On one occasion, Kemper picked up 2 roommates in Berkeley.
In that first killing in May of '72, when that gun was pulled out, I launched it out. I had it under my leg, out of sight, parallel to my leg in the seat. It was something that had been thought out in fantasy, acted out, felt out hundreds of times before it ever happened.
Kemper drove them at gunpoint to a secluded area near a park. He took one of them into the woods, leaving the second girl tied in the car.
I'd just gone through a horrible experience with her roommate, stabbing her. And I was in shock because of that. I couldn't believe that it was that way. And I'm walking back there bewildered. I gotta kill her. I can't let her go. She's gonna tell on me. Everybody's gonna get me. She sees the blood on my hands. What are you doing? She pulled back and she gasped. And I think, whoa, I don't want her to know what happened. I said, your friend got smart with me. She'd been getting really smart with me a lot, but I never hit her. I killed her, but I didn't hit her. I said, your friend got smart with me and I hit her. I think I broke her nose. You better come help. She's about to die. Why does she have to know that? I couldn't deal with telling her that. And when I attacked her, she didn't at first realize what was happening. It didn't go through. She had very heavy coveralls on. It knocked her right up into the lid of the car, but it didn't pierce the clothing. So it wasn't that swell a knife anyway. I went out and bought a pawn shop, huge knife. And I kept on just mindlessly attacking. She falls back into the trunk. I just killed a young woman. I slammed down the lid of the trunk. She isn't dead, she's dying. And I panicked. I thought, I just locked the car keys in because I can't find them in my pocket. Oh my God, I locked them in the trunk. I'm kicking on the trunk lid and yanking on it. Oh no, I don't believe this. I started to run and I tripped over the gun that I'd had in my pants that I had totally forgotten was there. I stopped. I said, stop and think. I collected my wits. Check all your pockets. I picked the gun up. I stuck it back in my pants, now remembering I had one. I checked all my pockets, and there's the keys in the back pocket. I never put them in my back pocket.
Everyone makes mistakes, and that's what we have to hope for. The more mistakes they make, the better their chances.
I thought I was pretty slick, and went and tripped all over myself. That first 2 murders, the first 24 hours, there were 3 clear times I should have been busted, and I wasn't. Because 3 different individuals or 3 different groups of people got scared and minded their own business and looked the other way.
Dvacet 9 obětí bylo pohřbeno v jeho sklepě a zbylé 4 oběti byly vhozeny do řeky poté, co Gacy plně využil prostor pod podlahou sklepa, kam své oběti pohřbíval. Sám přirovnal toto místo ke hřbitovu. Dne 13. prosince 1978 se ztratil 15letý chlapec Robert Peast. Ten po sobě zanechal vzkaz, že jde na schůzku s podnikatelem Johnem Gacym, který mu prý dá novou práci a že se vrátí brzy. Vzkaz nechal ležet v lékárně, kde pracoval jako brigádník. Ke Gacymu přijelo policejní auto a byla u něho provedena domovní prohlídka. Kromě osobních věcí byly nalezeny podezřelé předměty. Prsten pro absolventa střední školy z roku 1975, řidičské průkazy cizích osob, pouta, oblečení moc malé pro Gacyho, stvrzenka z lékárny, kde Robert Peast pracoval, kazety s homosexuálními filmy a několik dalších věcí. Nakonec začali kopat ve sklepních prostorách a objevili asi 30 lidských kostí a lidských ostatků. Gacy se na místě přiznal, že zabil 33 mladých mužů a chlapců. Někteří byli na sobě doslova nalepení. Tělo Roberta Peasta však ve sklepě nalezeno nebylo. Gacy se přiznal, že jeho tělo hodil do řeky, protože ve sklepě již nebylo místo a údajně ho z pohřbívání bolela záda. Dne 9. dubna 1979 bylo tělo Roberta Peasta objeveno na březích řeky Des Plaines. Pitva zjistila, že v jeho hrdle byly stopy papíru. Přesto byl Gacy uznán vinným ze všech 33 vražd i příčetným a odsouzen k trestu smrti prostřednictvím smrtící injekce. Se svým právníkem začal pracovat na odvolání, až bylo datum popravy stanoveno na 10. května 1994. Někteří lidé oslavovali jeho smrt, jeho poslední chvíle počítali stejně, jako se odpočítávají poslední sekundy starého roku. Gacyho poslední slova byla: polipte mi prdel.
People don't want to know the truth and the honesty of it. If they want to be convinced or brainwashed into what they believe, then fine, then go ahead and kill me. But vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, because you will have executed somebody that didn't commit the crime. When they paint the image that I was this monster who who picked up like these altar boys along the street and swatted them like flies. I said, this is ludicrous. I've taken 3.5 hours of truth serum, and under sodium amytal, the maximum amount that I could have, it shows that I have no knowledge of the crime whatsoever. Never have had. Loving and caring. I've always looked after my children, even now.
What kind of values do you remember imparting to them?
The kind of values?
Were you strict with them too?
No, not as strict as, no. A lot of things that my dad did, I refused to do, because I don't believe in hitting children. I don't believe in spoiling a child either. My values are such that if you give enough love to a child.
You're accused of murdering 33 kids, and you say you didn't believe in hitting. I mean,
well, anybody that knows, you see, first of all, you're basing this garbage on what you've heard of me.
What happened to what happened in the Bukovic case? Where was he picked up, and how did he get to the house, and what happened with him?
I don't want to go into the other, the 5 that I know about. Just take it that I didn't. Bukovic is not one that I killed, so I don't know nothing about him. The little bit that I know about him is that he was an employee of mine. See, when you look about this recall business, and
I'm not a prosecutor, John, but you just
I know you're not.
Bukovic
Wait a minute.
Is not one that you killed, which suggests that maybe in fact there were others that you did kill. No, not.
Okay, I'm sorry if I led you to believe. No, strike it then. That is wrong. If you want to charge me with anything, charge me with complicity in 2 of the murders.
Just 2?
That's all I know about. Robert Peace was killed by another individual in my home.
How did he get to your home?
He was transported to the house by another.
How did the other, whoever he was, kill Robert Peace?
I believe he was strangled.
You were there, right?
Not during the crime, but I was there afterwards, and I watched the removal of the body.
And what happened to the body afterwards? It was one that was that body was put into the river.
It was taken to the river and dumped in the river.
Did you help do that?
Yes, I'm in complicity with that. I've always contended. Don't look at me as an innocent babe of the woods. In regards to going out into the garage, yes, I know I went to the house, and yes, I know I walked in the garage, and they asked me where the last section of concrete was poured. Okay. I said, there's the last section where the last section of concrete was poured. Okay. They are the ones that took the orange can of paint and said, here, put a mark there. So I put an X there.
So the paint was not to identify the place of burial?
No. No, it never was. They asked shoelaces, huh? You're in trouble now.
Yeah, right.
Aren't you afraid sitting that close to me? What the hell? Oh, this is too long. You don't need it this long. Okay. I had a rosary, which I carried in my pocket. I've always carried a rosary. It was my communion rosary. They said, well, what kind of a knot do you use? I said, what do you mean knot? When I tie things up? I says, depending on what I'm using it for, I said, the only thing I ever learned was from Boy Scouts is a tourniquet knot. He said, well, show us what that is. So I took, at that time, and again, it's together, but in order to demonstrate it here, I took the rosary and I said, well, here, you put it around. This is hard trying to do this. Why don't you put your hand out? Okay, here. What I told him, I says, here, all you do is you wrap it around, you put 1 knot in it. And I said, then you put a 2nd knot in it. Okay? Mm-hmm. I says, then you take a stick and stick it in here, and you just turn this. And I says, it causes a tourniquet. I said, that's the only knot I ever learned. To me, clowning it was a way of relaxation for me. You regressed into childhood, you were able to relax, and you could be goofy if you wanted to, and still you had the facade of your face being covered. I used to do clowning, and I don't know if you want to mention the name, for an ice cream company in Chicago, who had 33 flavors. I used to, I'm serious, Bressler Ice Cream Company. I was their contractor, and I was also their clown. And Pogo the Clown was the clowning that I did for charity hospital work for the Democratic Party, and Pogo the Clown is originally. Pogo comes from being Polish and on the go all the time, so it's Pogo. I always felt that service community and community service to others, you know, in my religious background, I felt if you serve other people, it'll come back to serve you. Mm-hmm. You know, I've always believed that way with generosity.
What's your life like?
Day to day? Mm-hmm. I live it day to day.
What do you mean?
If you want to know what my life is like, I log it every day. For the last 12 years, all you got to do is ask. I can tell you everything. I can tell you it's the first meal they served me here because I do it daily.
What do you do all day?
Every phone call, everything that I do, every time an officer's around me is logged. Every movement that I make is in the book here. You know, when I tell you I've got background information on it, we took each one of them by, we took each one of the victims, and this is by their names or by their indictment numbers. And what we did with each one of them, we did profile sheets on them. We wanted to know what this kid was into, what his background was. My dad was domineering, in fact. He had a different set of values, but also very stern individual.
Gary Leon Ridgway, známý také jako Green River Killer. Ridgway zavraždil během 80. let přes 49 žen ve státě Washington. Svou přezdívku dostal podle řeky, u níž své oběti pohřbíval. Ridgway podle své výpovědi zabil nejméně 71 žen v blízkosti Seattlu a Tacomy. Oběťmi byly většinou prostitutky, které vlákal k sobě do dodávky. Často jim ukazoval fotografie svého syna, aby mu začali důvěřovat. Po sexu s nimi je Ridgway uškrtil. Zpočátku je rdousil ručně, později si bral i kravatu či strunu a škrtil jimi. Občas je znásilnil i po smrti. Těla pak pohřbíval tak, že je házel do řeky, nebo je pohřbíval blízko jejich břehů. Do případu se vložil i jiný sériový vrah Ted Bundy, který čekal v cele na popravu. Sestavil profil vraha, který se po Ridgwayově odhalení ukázal jako lepší než ten od znalců z FBI. Doporučoval hlídat místa, kde byla těla nalezena, prý se k nim zabiják bude vracet a také jako jediný přišel s hypotézou, že vrah je nekrofil. V roce 1983 se Ridgway stal jedním z podezřelých, když byl spatřen s prostitutkou, která později zmizela. Policisté neměli žádný důkaz a tak byl Ridgway propuštěn. V dubnu 1987 odebrala policie Ridgwayovi vzorky vlasů a slin. Odebrané vzorky byly později podrobeny profilování DNA, což poskytlo důkazy pro jeho zatykač. 30. listopadu 2001 byl v továrně na nákladní vozy Kenworth, kde pracoval policií zatčen. 5. listopadu 2003 se Ridgway přiznal ke 48 obviněním z vraždy prvního stupně jako součást dohody o vině a trestu, která by ho ušetřila popravy výměnou za jeho spolupráci při hledání pozůstatků jeho obětí a poskytování dalších podrobností. Dne 18. prosince 2003 odsoudil soudce vrchního soudu okresu King Richard A. Jones Ridgwaye k 48 doživotním trestům bez možnosti podmínečného propuštění. Ridgway měl problém s pomočováním až do svých 13 let a jeho matka mu po každé epizodě násilím umývala genitálie. Později řekl psychologům, že jako dospívající měl protichůdné pocity hněvu a sexuální přitažlivosti vůči své matce a snil o tom, že ji zabije.
I didn't really think I had an urge to kill her. I just wanted her to stop. And
what did you want to do to her?
What did I want to do to her? Just to have her stop and.
But how would you do it? What did you think in your head about how you would do it? That's what we're trying to get at. When did you first think about treating your mom violently to get what you wanted her to do?
Probably in 4th grade.
Okay, there we go. Fourth,
5th, and 6th was probably up to that grade.
And what was in your mind that you wanted to do to get her to treat you a certain way? What did you want to do to your mom here?
Being angry at me for not knowing how to...
But she wasn't stopping.
No, she wasn't stopping.
Was she?
No.
She kept picking at you, belittling you, embarrassing you. I mean, that was pretty clear from yesterday.
It happened in school, too, so I had
So what was your way of retaliating against her in your mind? What were you thinking to do to your mom?
I know I was thinking of hurting her. I just wanted her to stop and let me alone. Angry at her for pushing and pushing and pushing on me to remember, and I just couldn't remember, and I just wanted her to stop.
But she didn't.
But she didn't know.
She didn't stop. So somewhere in the 4th or 5th grade, that sense of helplessness that you had not being able to get her to stop would very likely have produced thoughts of taking back some power and control over your mom to get the bitch to shut up. I mean, I'm sorry, but Gary, that's what we hear. And that's one of the things we're looking to get a better understanding of.
During that thing, I usually took it out on other things instead of hurting her.
Living things?
Living things, killing animals.
Okay.
Killing animals. I stabbed a kid one time.
Okay.
Just stabbed a kid with a knife.
Tell me about that.
Down by Chinook, where I used to go to school, and boy was playing. I stabbed him inside, and didn't kill him. And I must have been about 6th grade, I think it was 7th grade, and that was sometime I was breaking out windows, throwing rocks at windows at his school.
Not interested in that.
But that's what I took my aggression on. I couldn't take it on my mom. I had to take it on my animals and
how many animals
kids.
Did you kill?
I killed a lot of birds, but one cat suffocated in an ice chest, and shot babies at dogs to hurt them, and threw rocks at my brother. About that time, I think I was getting out of that, though.
You couldn't take your aggressions out on your mom.
No, I couldn't.
But you could think about it.
I could think about it, and
what'd you think?
I thought about hurting her, so she'd shut up and leave me alone. And
how did you think about hurting your mom?
Killing her.
And how would you do that?
I thought with my hands, or I didn't have no guns or anything, so I didn't. It had to have been hands or.
And then after she was dead, what were you going to do in your head?
In my head, I don't know what I would do. I just wanted her to stop. One time they were going to put me in a special school. I didn't want that. My dad and my mom were arguing about it all the time. It was for retarded people, and I wasn't retarded, I don't think. So I was mad at them for wanting to put me away from other kids. And wanting to hurt her, and hurt her bad.
What does that mean? Hurt her bad? Help me to understand that.
Just beat her up so she wouldn't leave me alone. And
how would you do that in your head?
My hands. Beat her up with my hands. Maybe use a knife.
What would you do with the knife?
I'd probably stab her with it.
And all of his victims will be waiting with God and watching him as he burns in hell.
Dennis Lynn Rader je americký sériový vrah, který je známý jako BTK, podle zkratky pro svázat, mučit, zabít. V originále bind, torture, kill, kterou se podepisoval v dopisech. V letech 1974 až 1991 Rader zabil 10 lidí ve městě Wichita v Kansasu. Policistům a novinářům posílal výsměšné dopisy popisující podrobnosti jeho zločinu. V roce 2004, 10 let po poslední vraždě, na sebe začal Rader znovu upozorňovat prostřednictvím dopisů zaslaných policistům, které následně dopomohly k jeho zatčení v roce 2005. V nápravném ústavu v Kansasu si Rader nyní odpykává 10 po sobě jdoucích doživotních trestů. 15. ledna 1974 byli ve Wichitě v Kansasu zavražděni 4 členové rodiny Otterových. Oběťmi se stal Joseph Ottero s manželkou Julií a jejich 2 dětmi. Jejich těla objevil nejstarší syn Charlie Ottero, který byl v době vraždy ve škole. Potom, co byl Rader v roce 2005 zatčený, se k vraždě rodiny Otterových přiznal. Rader napsal dopis, který schoval v knize uložené ve Wichitské veřejné knihovně, který podrobně popisuje detaily vraždy členů rodiny Otterových.
I just lost a job in Cessna. That was demoralizing to me. So anyway, they became a potential target.
So they were convenient.
Convenient.
How did they fuel the sexual fantasy then? Was there anything specific about that?
Mrs. Otero was attractive, and then I saw Josephine too. So I must have had that somewhere in my mind, a younger person that must have locked in on me. All extremely nervous, you know, and all of a sudden, and I already cut the phone line. And it's funny because when I have to cut her, it's there. I had to come back and get those later, but and the door opened, so here I am, you know. So do I just walk out the back door? They call the police, or I go for it? And I went for it. Mrs. Otero had woke up, and she actually said, "God have mercy on your soul."
What happened once they saw you?
Okay, well, they thought it was a joke. I went in, I think it was a younger Otero. They were all in the kitchen, they were making sandwiches.
Male or female?
No, it was the younger, the junior, Joseph. Mr. Otero actually stepped up and told him that I was coming for some food. I was wanted in California, I needed some food and water and some money and transportation. That was my ruse to kind of calm him down. He kind of laughed a little bit, and he said, "Well, this is a joke," you know. So they were cooperating with him 100%, and that's probably was their demise. If they probably struggled and fought with me, that would have been a different story. But they felt fairly comfortable, so that's what I was going to do. I'm trying to comfort them as much as I could.
To keep him quiet, because you actually were worried about it?
Both. Okay. Well, I'll go, I'm a bad guy. I care for people, you know, have concerns for people. So. And I hadn't really crossed that path yet where I was going to kill the people yet, so I was in still that concern mode. I'm all control completely. And then went in the other room and I thought, do I just leave or what? They already know me, my face, so I went back and put a plastic bag over Mr. Otero's head and put a garnet over his neck and pulled up on it, and that's when hit the fan then, because they all could see what I was doing.
Watching this?
Yes, they were watching it. They were screaming and hollering.
Did you want to move them from the scene at all?
No.
Nothing.
I had to get in control. It was really noisy. They were screaming and.
The noise was bothering you?
Yeah, the noise was bothering me, and I knew the mailman would be out there or somebody would be walking by, so I had to control it very quickly. It was just something that I had to do. Once I started with Mr. Otero, I knew I had to do all 4 of them. It's like an execution. Once you started, if there was witnesses, you had to do it all the way around. Mrs. Otero had woke up, and she actually said, "Have God have mercy on your soul." That's what she said. Throw her down permanently.
This woman who probably knows now that she might be going to die, she is generous with you, asking God to have mercy on your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty generous thing to tell
somebody's going to kill you,
that's killed and tortured her family and is about to do the same to her.
I was really not a sexual high, I was just scared high. I was really nervous, sweating. I had sweat running off me all over the place. And I just, I had gloves on, I had rubber gloves, and they were just full of water, sweat. It was really, my clothes were just soaked with sweat. Very nervous. Not like a master criminal at all. This was my first time that I'd ever crossed that barrier. Stalking stage is when you start learning more about your victims, potential victims. Went to the library, I looked up their names, address, cross-referenced, called them a couple of times, drove by there whenever I could.
It contained what?
Plastic bags, rope, tape, knife, gun. All those wouldn't be in the kit, they'd be where I could have them in the house and gather them up. Now, somewhere along the line, in my dreams, I had what they call torture chambers, and to relieve your sexual fantasies, you have to go to the kill. I just put in one of the first letters. I was really surprised I put it out that first. I think it was just bind, torture, kill. Now I had a label on me. It's like the Green River Killer and Son of Sam and a whole slew of others. The Boston Strangler. It wasn't something I just could do all the time, so whenever it was convenient, it would have been easier probably if you were like a spy or something where you could go sit there and watch, but I didn't have that. I had to work under camouflage. And I don't think it was actually the person that I was after, I think it was the dream. I know that's not really nice to say about a person, but they were basically an object. They were just an object, that's all it were. I had more satisfaction building up to it and afterwards than I did the actual killing of the person. That was kind of an impulse and really a really stupid thing to do because I left my voice pattern and my voice on there. I actually think I'm maybe possessed with demons. I was dropped on my head when I was a kid. I've talked to some theological Christian people, and some of those people are really strong. They actually think, well, the Bible says that there's demons and within you or can come into you. That's the only thing I can figure out. I have, something drove me to do this. The normal people just don't do this.
You can't stop it.
I can't stop it. It's just, it controls me. It's like it's in the driver's seat. That's probably the reason we're sitting here. I could just say, no, I don't want to do this and go crawl in a hole, but it's driving me.
You've actually used the term monster, that there's this monster inside of you. It almost sounds like it's something separate and apart, like a different person.
Yeah, it's part of the compartment. I can switch back and forth, and once this character takes over, whatever it is, it drives me onward. You know what it is.
Is it safe to say that there are at least a few lucky people out there?
There's a lot of lucky people out there.
Who you didn't kill, that you would
didn't either make it in the house, they come home, or for some reason I didn't go. There's a lot of lucky people out there, yes. There have been more, probably, if I would have succeeded. You're almost guaranteed. I think I was lucky quite a bit. Pretty lucky guy. pretty lucky guy. I think they got close a couple times. I was just lucky. You know, they traced a lot of stuff down. They traced the copier down, the copiers I used out at WSU, but they couldn't make the connection from there. They had 30-some years to break it, and they couldn't do it. The taxpayers are paying the money for Sedgwick County. They really need to have, I think, a sharper bunch. Although they tried.
Do you pray?
Yes, I do. Study the Bible daily, and that helps not only just for spiritual, though a lot of it's good meanings and good concepts, things that you can use in life. That really stirred it. I read that in the paper, and I always thought, you know, I'd like to bring this back out again, but should I? And I think I've reached a point in life. The kids were gone. You know, not really bored, but kind of bored. Eventually, I was going to tell the story in my terms and not his terms. They already had the killings, so that's factual. But they didn't know how I worked and moved around, the projects, the haunts, how I picked up the victims. They didn't know how that worked. I could just really stir the hornet nest up with the media by just showing them pictures and puzzles and playing a game with them. But I didn't realize the city really lived in fear of that bad. We always lived spurts of it on the news. Women would come home and look under their doors and under their beds, and just really lived in fear. I didn't realize that I had that attention.
Why aren't there more?
Why aren't there more? It seemed like as I got older, I started making, well, physically, just wasn't up to it. Anyway, well, had to fight with somebody, it'd have to be an older person. Because I'd be just winded or wouldn't be able to fight physically. I don't know. I think I was just starting to mellow out a little bit.
Actually asked the police if they could catch you.
They said no.
They said no. Did you really think they were going to tell you the truth?
No, I thought they would. I thought they wanted me to finish the story. I really thought I had a rapport with them, you know, and I really did. Well, you know, maybe something's coming down. Shall I run? But where would I have ran if they were after me? I just took a calculated guess that that was something else and hoped for it.
Israel Keyes byl americký sériový vrah, příslušník americké armády, bankovní lupič, zloděj, žhář, únosce a sexuální delikvent. Zavraždil nejméně 3 lidi, je podezřelý z vraždy až 20 lidí a spáchal desítky trestných činů, včetně ozbrojených loupeží, žhářství, znásilnění a vloupání po celých Spojených státech od července 2001 do února 2012. Keyesovou poslední potvrzenou obětí byla 18letá Samantha Koenigová, zaměstnankyně kavárny v Anchorage na Aljašce. Keyes unesl Koenigovou z jejího pracoviště, vzal její debetní kartu a další majetek, odsezl do svého domu, kde ji přivázal v kůlně na nářadí, zatímco jeho přítelkyně a dcera spali v domě. Sexuálně ji napadl a následující den zabil. Nechal její tělo v kůlně na svém dvorku a odjel do New Orleans, odkud odjel na předem objednanou 2týdenní plavbu se svou rodinou v Mexickém zálivu. Když se vrátil na Aljašku, odstranil Koenigovo tělo z kůlny, nalíčil obličej mrtvoly a přišil oční víčka rybářským vlascem. Vyfotil 4 dny staré vydání deníku Anchorage Daily News vedle jejího těla, které vypadalo, že je stále naživu. Poté, co požadoval $30,000 jako výkupné, z nichž část byla zaplacena na Koenigův bankovní účet, Keyes rozřezal Koenigovo tělo a zlikvidoval ho v Matanuska Lake severně od Anchorage. Její ostatky byly získány týmem FBI pro podvodní vyhledávání a důkazy. Keyes spáchal sebevraždu ve své cele, když čekal na svůj soud, podřezal si zápěstí žiletkou. Dodnes není jasné, jak se k němu žiletka dostala, protože byl pod neustálým přísným dohledem. V roce 2020 FBI zveřejnila kresby 11 lebek a 1 pentagramu, které byly nakresleny krví a nalezeny pod Keyesovou vězeňskou postelí po jeho sebevraždě. Jedna z kreseb obsahovala frázi "We are one" napsanou dole. FBI věří, že počet lebek koreluje s celkovým počtem jeho obětí.
And I put my head right up to her ear and I said, "You knew this was coming." And she started to nod and she started to cry a little bit. And I said, "You can make it easier or you can make it harder." And she was still cooperative, but she was really scared at that point. And so after I had her hands screwed down, I remember how I tied her feet. I don't think I did much to tie her feet. I think I just took about a 6-foot piece of nylon rope. And yeah, so anyway, she was on the floor, and after I cut off her shirt and her bra, then I took the knife and cut down each of her pant legs. She had on like tight black pants, like skin or spandex. And I think she thought I was gonna sodomize her. She started saying, "Oh no, not that." And after that, I just stood up and looked at her for a while. I still had my clothes on. And just watched her for a while. And
was she still trying to talk to you?
No. No, she wasn't saying anything. She was shaking a little bit. And then I took my clothes off and put on a condom, and I raped her. And I don't know, it was a while. Probably, I remember the radio was on. I think it took, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 songs. And then right before I finished, I did sodomize her, and she screamed a little bit right then. And right when she screamed, I had to, I think I pulled on the cable tie a little bit and told her to shut up. And then after it was over, she was, I don't know, I guess you'd say she was resigned at that point. And still had, I didn't have any clothes on. And she started asking me if I was going to kill her. And I didn't say anything. And I grabbed the cable tie with my left hand and started pulling up as hard as I could, tightened it all the way down. She never made a sound.
She didn't try and struggle or scream?
She never struggled. She couldn't struggle much. Her legs were screwed down, but she, her arms were screwed down too, with the rope. So I was straddling her, and I had so much force on the cable tie that she was, her whole, like half of her body was lifted up off the floor.
How long did it take her to die?
It was taking, I mean, it's hard to tell, but it was taking a while. And I remember thinking, I still have to shower, but I was still, it's gonna sound, and so I'm not going to tell all that part, but I stabbed her once, right below her right shoulder blade, in her back.
With the Leatherman?
With that little knife.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very deep. Coming to that, but anyway, I didn't really stab her to make her die faster or anything. It was something else. But I took...
Did you stab her because you were still attracted to her?
No, I'm not going to go into that. I took a piece of rope that was laying there. And at this point, it's probably to the colors that she had in her purse, and got some fishing line, bought some needles.
Newspaper?
The newspaper I ended up finding in the dumpster behind cars. I have a big recycling dumpster, and I found a whole stack of papers in chronological order from about the 6th to the whenever I got back, 19th or 20th or something. Yeah, so once I had all that stuff, but I know it took me all night to do it.
To do what?
All night. To get the makeup done. And she was still on the table, but, you know, obviously she didn't look as good as when I first thought her out. So, yeah, I had a lot of work to do. And, probably, I don't know, 2-3 hours I worked on her, doing the makeup and trying to figure out how I was going to position things, trying to make it look like she was still alive. And, the biggest problem I had was with her face. I could get the makeup to work, but you know, her face was slack, so by then it was already getting to be morning, it seems like. I taped it so that it looked like her face had some texture to it, I guess. And then I was still having problems with her eyes, or her forehead, you know, because there was no expression. And tried super glue, that didn't work. And so I took the needles that I had a big curved needle, what they call it. But and then I had that 10-pound test fishing line. And I took the needle and went down through her brow, like right between her eyebrows, down up along her nose cartilage under the skin, and came out, and then went back up and along the same path and did it again, and then pulled it tight to make it look like she was squeezing her eyes shut. And then I took a test picture just to kind of see what it was gonna look like. I think I put a little more makeup on after that. I already had her hair braided at that point.
Each your body.
Everywhere. I had to put foundation, like every part you see in that picture has foundation on it, 2 or 3 different kinds.
Why did you do that?
Well, she didn't look good. I mean, her skin, you could start to see the blood under the skin, and some bruising. And I mean, she was still in good shape, but you know, she definitely didn't look alive. And so yeah, it took me a long time. I think I used 2 or 3 tubes of